Hey there, my name is James Lee. Welcome to my channel 5149, where I talk business, politics, and society. And today we are going to discuss Andrew Yang's Forward Party, specifically what the goal of the Forward Party is and can the Forward Party actually accomplish said goal. Andrew Yang writes, I started the Forward Party for a few big reasons. The main one is one we can all see. The current two-party duopoly is not working. While the two major parties have different issues, we can all see that polarization is getting worse and worse, with 42% of both parties regarding the other as not just mistaken, but evil. Neither side is able to meaningfully solve problems, so we all get angrier and angrier. I definitely agree with the goal and a lot of what he's talking about there. It's absolutely clear that neither the Republican Party nor the Democratic Party truly represent its constituents in any sort of meaningful way. An often glossed over but very real finding from a Princeton University study concluded the preferences of the average American appear to only have a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. And anecdotally, I think we can all see that polarization is getting worse and worse. But the thing is that, maybe contrary to conventional wisdom, it's perhaps not really because the party's ideas are all that different. Natalie Shore writes in the New Republic, polarization has been largely asymmetrical. That is, over the past several decades, the Republican Party has lurched further and further rightward, while Democrats have, until relatively recently, mostly stayed put or shifted slightly rightward as well. And while Republicans are ideologically unified in service of capital, Democrats are a jumbled coalition of desperate interests in which capital is the senior member, dismayingly often trumping the will of all others. So in other words, the real problem with today's two-party system is less that they're too polarized and more that they're too similar, and too similar in that they both exist only to serve capital, basically the people with money, with the differentiation point being the various cultural issues that divide many of us. The root problem in American life and politics is the same problem with the two-party system, namely that too few people control too much money while too many people suffer as a result. So to kind of summarize all of that, the main problem that we have in American politics, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others, is money. It's the outsized influence of money, especially corporate money. I mean, corporations, they don't really donate to campaigns from the goodness of their hearts because they have no heart. They're not people, despite whatever our crazy interpretation of the law that deems them to be people. The fact is, and we all know this, they're trying to buy influence. So it's critical to have a degree of separation between government and the moneyed interests of big business, the ultra wealthy, if, this is a big if, the goal is to truly return the government back to the people. So how does the Forward Party address the issue of money in politics?
The real problem in this country isn't that, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have gone awry. The real problem is that they've both gone awry because they both get bribed. So if you form a third party, by the way, as you're doing here with Forward Party, and I'm curious to ask you, and so I'll do it right here, are you gonna allow corporate PAC donations? Because if you do, your party will instantly get taken over by bribery as well.
You're pointing out the core problem, which is right now our government is overrun by moneyed interests. The Forward Party, right now, we're just passing the hat to grassroots donors and individuals. We don't have any design on taking corporate PAC money. If we ever did, we would be totally transparent about it. But I'm going to suggest that people who are going to give to the Forward Party just want things to get better and change. Like, what the heck do we control? Nothing. Like, what kind of corporate PAC would be like, you know what we're going to do? Like, the Forward Party is going to, we're the pro lowercase d democracy popular movement. Certainly, again, I'm practical. We're going to need resources to get our work done, and hopefully we can get it done, get those resources from human beings.
But I think what Cenk's also asking though is like going forward, if I may, is that when you do get to the point, obviously you're starting out now. When you do get to the point that there are candidates who are running under the emblem of the Forward Party, are you going to make that a tenet of the party to not take corporate PAC money during an election? Has that been talked about?
One thing we will have as a tenet is total transparency around who's backing a campaign. And I think that's what people should expect.
Not entirely too convincing or comfortable to hear, at least to me. Andrew Yang's answer about whether or not his new Forward Party is going to take corporate money is it's ridiculous, because if he's actually trying to fix and realign the incentive problem that he so often talks about, you need to deal with this money in politics. Like, his answer is either deflective or a gross misjudgment. Oh, no one's going to give us any money because we have no power. I mean, I assume the plan is to gain a little bit of power. So at some point, the corporations and other wealthy people are going to come knocking, and they're going to make a bet on the Forward Party. And by taking that money, they'll essentially go down the same path as almost every other politician or major political party. The counter-argument might be, and I've seen some people say this, is, well, who cares if there's corporate money involved if we get ranked choice voting and open primaries? That in and of itself will be a big win, and we'll deal with the money problem later. And I kind of get that, but then again, New York City just held its first Democratic mayoral primary election with ranked choice voting, and I'm sure Andrew Yang can tell you firsthand that even with ranked choice voting, it's still pretty tough to take down the corporate-funded establishment candidate. But let's even put all of that aside and say, hypothetically, if ranked choice voting and open primaries resulted in more parties, I'm not sure if that necessarily equates to an uncorrupted government. Sure, we'd have more choices, but what good are these choices if all of them have already been bribed? India might be the best example of this. It has a thriving multi-party parliament with more than 30 parties currently represented in government, which sounds pretty great, except according to Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index, India ranks 86th out of 180 countries with a score of 40 out of 100, with 89% of people agreeing that government corruption is a big problem and 39% of public service users having paid a bribe in the previous 12 months. Just for comparison, the US ranks 25th out of 180 countries with a score of 60 out of 100. So the question is, how does a multi-party parliament result in one of the most corrupt democracies in the world? Well, not surprisingly, it's the source of political financing, electoral bonds being one such example. Introduced in 2017, the Modi government purportedly created these financial instruments to help reform India's murky campaign finance regime by regulating the transfer of monetary contributions to the country's political parties. The problem is that despite providing verifying information to the bank never discloses it. On the contrary, the names of individual and corporate purchasers are kept totally confidential from everyone, including the parties receiving the donation. The result has been to effectively legitimize corruption by allowing unlimited amounts of campaign cash to be transferred anonymously to India's political parties. To me, this sounds kind of familiar to the current situation in the US, where corporate super PACs and special interests, through large campaign donations, control not only our members of Congress, but also key appointments in the executive branch and the judicial branch, including all the way up to the Supreme Court. So while I am in full support of ranked choice voting, I'm just not entirely convinced that it's the most important factor in solving the problems that Andrew Yang's talking about with our current two-party duopoly. I've talked a little bit about this before in a previous video I've made looking at third parties, but if we look at the result of Canada's 2021 federal elections, there are 5 viable parties represented in the Canadian government, but they also utilize a first-past-the-post system similar to the US. So I guess my point is, breaking the duopoly, or perhaps more importantly, overcoming the current corruption in our government, is not necessarily predicated on only changing the electoral rules, although I do, once again, agree that ranked choice voting is a better system, but it takes rather a deliberate commitment to reject what's really underlying all the corruption in our government: money. Our government is not representative of our people, not necessarily because of our electoral system, but because of how much special interest money and how much corporate money is circulating in the system. So in a sense, our government does a fantastic job of representing exactly the people who are contributing the most money. So, I like Andrew Yang as much as I can like a politician. I like what he's trying to do with the Forward Party. I think he's trying to think things through. He's trying to diagnose a problem, present a workable solution. But I'm not sure if he really gets it in terms of money in politics or if there's something else going on here. My prediction is that if the Ford Party actually ends up achieving any sort of success, if they actually present any semblance of a threat to the current status quo, corporate money will be coming, either to buy you or squash you. And trust me, you don't want any part of this money because
you start to follow the money and you don't know where the fuck it's gonna take you.
That's gotta be one of my favorite scenes in TV and movie of all time, and so frustratingly true. So come on, Andrew Yang, you gotta follow the money. That is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. So I guess to sum it up, if he ends up taking corporate money, I'm not sure if Andrew Yang's Ford Party is really gonna move us forward in any sort of meaningful way. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion, especially if there are some Yang gangers out there. Love to see what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please click on that like button to help signal to YouTube that maybe they should show this to other people. But you can also directly help by sharing this video with your friends and family. Please consider subscribing and clicking on that notification bell if you want more of my videos in your feed. As always, thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you next week.